remarks. And then we'll be happy to take your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajendra. Good morning. It's actually good afternoon now. Thank you for coming here. We felt this would be a very useful interaction because, after all, the negotiations have gone through a week, and clearly the next week is going to be crucial in moving towards an agreement that I hope will bring about a desired outcome for global human society. And what we felt would be very useful is to talk about some of the scientific underpinnings that must drive the negotiations towards an agreement. As we've said on previous occasions, the fourth assessment report, which came out in 2007, was able to advance knowledge substantially over the previous report, but clearly it was within the same framework, within the same structure and mode than what we have today in really 21 years of experience of the IPCC, where tens of thousands of scientists have worked together. And I'd like to emphasize the fact that our processes and procedures have stood the test of time, because not only do we succeed in mobilizing the best talent from across the globe, but we've also established a system whereby groups of authors are able to provide an assessment of specific aspects of climate change. And I think the hallmark of the IPCC is the teamwork that we've been able to establish. Now, I also want to mention the fact that at each stage of the drafting of our report, there is extensive expert review of every draft, and we get literally thousands of comments from the expert reviewers, and each single comment is posted and kept track of. Where we accept a specific comment, we record it as such. Where we don't accept it, the authors don't accept it, they have to adduce the reasons why those comments have not been accepted. And then finally, let me also remind everyone over here that the summary for policymakers of every report, or the summary for policymakers of every report, is accepted by all the governments of the world, and that's a process which requires word-by-word acceptance and approval. So this is a very robust process, and it has stood the test of time. And may I say that if, let us say today, we were to devise an organization that would carry out such a comprehensive assessment of climate change, and you were to come up with something that would meet the needs of human society and decision makers in particular, you would invent something that is clearly identical to what the IPCC is. And in that sense, may I say, this has been a unique experience, this is a unique organization, and we're very proud of what we've been able to do. We're even more proud of the individuals who work in the IPCC and give their time without any compensation from the IPCC as a labor of love. And these are clearly the most outstanding scientists and with the highest level of expertise that one can bring to bear on this task. I'll just quickly end my comments by saying that one of the major things that we have been able to come up with in the fourth assessment report, and we are now, of course, working on the fifth assessment report, is a very clear understanding of key vulnerabilities in both developed as well as developing countries. And vulnerabilities depend on the exposure that people have, the sensitivity of a society, that means the status of development, and thirdly, their adaptive capacity. And therefore, I would say the poor in every part of the world are clearly very, very vulnerable. And we've also voiced 5 major reasons of concern which flow out of the third assessment report. And these are really risk to unique and threatened systems, extreme weather events, which we know the intensity and frequency of is increasing, the distribution of impacts and vulnerabilities, because these are not uniform across the globe, they vary enormously, and I think our negotiations must understand that, and the agreement must take that into account. The aggregate impacts, because there would be much higher damages that we find for larger magnitudes of climate change and temperature increases. And there are also risks of large-scale singularities, and these we have documented very clearly. Now, I'll just end by saying that at the same time, while all these concerns relate to the outcome of inaction on the part of global society, if we were to take action, the costs of mitigation are really much, much lower than what anyone had anticipated. And what's even more significant is the fact that there are huge co-benefits in taking mitigation action. So I don't want to preempt what my colleagues are going to say, and they're going to give you further details. So I turn to Thomas Dr. and he'll tell us about working group 1.
A few of the cornerstone results out of the fourth assessment report, which are relevant for this meeting and which are clearly relevant for the second part of this meeting here in Copenhagen. One of the important sentences in the Working Group 1 contribution to AR4 was the following: warming in the climate system is unequivocal. It is a long sentence. I have abbreviated it here, but the essence of this statement lies in the figure that you see on the left side. This sentence is based on many different data sets, many different physical variables in the climate system, diligent and long observations in the climate system in various parts and components of the climate system. Just by example, you see the global mean temperature anomaly since 1850, which shows an increase of 0.74 degrees Celsius as reported in AR4 since 1900. You also see very clearly that there is natural variability in the climate system. This is a message that is important if you come down to look at shorter time windows and perhaps may draw conclusions out of very short time observations. So natural climate variability is always with us, will always be with us, superimposed on a long-term trend, which is so much visible in a damped time series such as the sea level rise, which you see in the second graph, where we measure 17 centimeters of sea level rise since 1900. And in full physical consistence with these two parameters taken as examples is the reduction of snow cover in the northern hemisphere. This is the basis that led us in Working Group 1 to say and make the statement, warming in the climate system is unequivocal. Many data series from many different independent institutions and researchers worldwide.